Hey, what's up guys, you good Gypsy, and we are back here today for NPL Season 7 semi-finals, going up against my fellow Aussie and good friend the Verd, in what should be a pretty fun game. The last time I properly faced Verd in like an actual game was back in like one of the March Madness tours, I think earlier on in this year, and so that was a while ago, and obviously he's grown as a player a lot since then. And he's made it to semis, so he's definitely proved his worth throughout the season. This is his first season in majors, and he's in semis, which is like really impressive in my opinion. So, yeah, he's definitely showing everyone that he's a force to be reckoned with. And Verd has a very threatening team, which he's used very well this season. As you guys can see to the right there, I've got his team up. It's threatening. He's got the Z Zygarde, which is a big threat to all teams, and with eligibility to have the Z move on it just becomes that much more threatening, that much more unpredictable. Being able to blow past its conventional checks in the form of like Tangrowth and Landorus with the right kind of Z move. If I am like a real Fizdef Tangrowth, you could run like Z like a special move to blow away a Tang, like Z Sludge Bomb or Z Draco. Same goes for Landorus. So he's also got stuff like the Blue, as you see there, which provides terrain support for his Katana, and also defensive synergy. It's really nice for stuff like Nihilego and Empoleon, which weakens the, as well as Arcanine, which weakens the power of my Earthquake versus his team, and that's something we're going to discuss as we get through this team builder. But yeah, he's got the Hooper U as well. He made a trade with Maddie to obtain Hooper, which is another massive scary threat on his team versus us. And then he has the nice U-turn core with Beedrill Rotom, form that nice Volturn core. He's got Empoleon, which is a fantastic check to my Mega Diancie, especially if it's holding the Sugar Berry, which we'll go into later. And then he has Rotom, which can wall a lot of different variants of Landorus, which is something to keep in mind. And then Nihilego is actually one of the biggest threats to my team because I don't have a Rock Resist currently. It's a pretty big threat to my squad. And I feel like he could definitely bring it to this game, and potentially as a Scarf set, or even just like an Expert Belt or Life Orb set, to provide that kind of late game cleaning option. So he definitely has options, and he's got Wobbuffet, which is just a mon that may not come, but is definitely something you have to expect and prep for, because obviously we've got Shadow Tag and Goth in our squad, but Wob is, whilst not as good as Goth, it's still a pretty solid mon, and can really remove certain offensive mons on my side that can't switch out or can't U-turn out or get locked into a move and just blown away by counter America. So that's definitely something to think about. He's got a pretty nice balance, but really bulky offensive team. Like lots of his bulk is really bulky. Lots of his offense is really bulky, I should say, and that's definitely makes it more difficult to take it on, because it's not like I can just pack a Scarfer and just obliterate his offense. He's got a lot of mons that can chew a hit and fire back really strong hits in return. So it's going to be a pretty interesting, fun team to build for, and I've built a team that I'm very proud of. So we're going to jump into it. The first one we have here, as you guys can see, is an Assault Vest Tang. So went through a few variations of this Tangrowth. Originally I had Eject Button on here, which was a pretty hot set, as well as like Shed Shell and like Red Card and stuff on this set, but ultimately I settled on Assault Vest because Nihilego was something that really threatened my team. And without any Spidef, Tangrowth is just a sitting duck for Nihilego. It's basically a free speed boost or special attack boost if like it's in on me. And having a Assault Vest just means that I can afford to stay in and click EQ versus it. I can take a Sludge Wave with ease, as long as I'm above like 70% or so. So I can come in on rocks and take a Sludge Wave, no problem, knock it out with EQ. This one is like, it's solid in the sense that it can switch into Zygarde, it can scout its set, it can switch into Bulu. If he does bring Nature's Madness Bulu, which he definitely could, and I think that's a move that he probably will bring versus me, because it does capitalize on a Celesteela switching in, as well as a Bulu. If he's like Life Orb, Nature's Madness into Mega Horn, he can actually take out my Tangrowth. And if he's like Nature's Madness Taunt or something like that, he can definitely whittle down my Celesteela. So I feel like Bulu could come as that sort of set, and having a Sludge Bomb in the set is nice to just be able to knock that out if it's offensive. If it's a more defensive, bulkier set, it will obviously still get 2 KO by Sludge Bomb, but it likely won't die. But getting that big hit off initially is important. Knockoff is just crucial to knocking off a lot of items on his team. Knocking off lefties on his bulkier mons like a fat Zygarde can be really, really nice. Knocking off a Hooper, because Hooper can't actually Oko me with this set, with this spread. I avoid the Oko from Hooper. From full, I can knock him off if he specs, really reduce the damage he can deal to my team. And knockoff, as I said, it's just nice for removing lefties. And I have the hidden power IC for Zygarde. So Zygarde, like, Verds use Zygarde really creatively this season, and I don't expect to be faced with like a Dragon Dancing, just a very standard like Dragon Dancing or Band Zygarde variant. I definitely expect him to bring some kind of heat on Zygarde, be it special, be it like mixed, be it like camouflage rest variant or like camouflage coil with like pain split, something like that. I do expect him to bring something like that, maybe even like 1000 waves plus toxic. That's definitely a possibility. He's got a lot of options he can run on that thing, and having Tangrowth just with the HPI, so just cleanly 2KO it is very important. But I can also, make a switch out to Celesteela on his Zygarde if I am fearing him to be like 1000 waves rest toxic variant, which could be quite annoying to this Tangrowth as I don't have like rest or anything on this. So the next one we have on the team is Diancie. This is a really nice star in this game. This Diancie set is pretty nice. I outspeed his Nihilego with his speed. Of course I don't outspeed Kartana, but I do expect Kartana to be a Scarfed variant if it does come. Alternatively, if he does bring a non-Scarfed Kartana, I expect him to be like either Adamant with SD to help him break past my fat mons like Tang or Celesteela, or alternatively to be creeping my Hydreigon, which is the next fastest mon on my team that he can outspeed, bar like this Diancie, but obviously like he's going to expect me to run like a faster Diancie. Versus him, I don't think he's going to be creeping something like this with his Katana, and because I do have sub on my team, I can always scout versus a Katana. I'll always switch versus a Katana anyway, to respect the potential Scarf bring, but if I do have sub up, it just eases prediction in that sense as I can stand and click Earth Power. Hidden Power Poison is here just mainly obviously for the Bulu, because Bulu's actually really fat, and if he brings a Spit F Bulu, Moonblast is not 2KO, and granted I do expect to have rocks up early on. If he brings in a Soul Vest variant, Hidden Power Poison just blows it away after some rocks chip. Getting like firing off a Moonblast or an Earth Power into Hidden Power Poison will take that thing out, which is really nice. So yeah, I just didn't really like. I was tossing up this last move on Diancie, but ultimately Hidden Power Poison was the most effective because all of the times I was only clicking sub and firing off either of these moves here. Having Hidden Power Poison is just a nice safeguard in case he does bring like a bulkier Bulu. So yeah, Diancie just goes in versus his team. Granted, he has stuff like Beedrill, which outspeeded, Katana, which if it's faster it can threaten Diancie, but the main roadblock to Diancie in this matchup is his best switch-in is the Wobbuffet, because Wobbuffet is not 2KO'd by Earth Power if he's like max Spit F Calm depending on rolls, but more importantly, if he's a Shukaberry variant, he's going to become a fantastic check to Diancie, because obviously Empoleon threatens me with Flash Cannon, can just blow me away, and if I am in a 1v1 situation and I think I can take him out, and he's actually Shukaberry, then Earth Power won't take him out, and he'll just be able to blow me away. So sub is nice, because if I can sub up on his switch to Empoleon, I can fire off an Earth Power, which removes the Shukaberry, and if he's already taken a bit of chip damage, I will be able to knock him out with a second Earth Power, whilst taking the hit with my sub on the first turn. So that is one way this Diancie can beat Empoleon, but I have another tech on this team which is really aimed at just removing Empoleon from the game and making Diancie that much more of an offensive threat versus my opponent. So the next one we have is Celesteela. I really Spit F set this week. You may think to yourself, why do you have such a Spit F Celly when he has like stuff like Beedrill and Tapu Bulu is Zygarde? Well, this is mainly just because I do have to respect the potential of a speed boosting Nihilego versus me. Rock Power Gem like spam with a Scarf set late game is very threatening. Having max Spit F allows me to chew those hits. Blow him away with Heavy Slam. Leech, just very nice for team support versus his team. Hidden Power Ice, so I can 2KO Zygarde. Explosion is here, so I don't lose to a Trick Room Hooper. I can always switch this thing in. Heavy Slam his Hooper, as Heavy Slam doesn't do much to Hooper at all, but it puts it in guaranteed range of Explosion if he's max HP. So the nice thing about this is like I can always Heavy Slam the Hooper as he sets up Trick Room if he is a Trick Room variant, and which would otherwise, really threaten my team, as Tangrowth can't knock it out. And if he clicks the right buttons, if he has the right coverage, and he hits Focus Blast, he can really threaten my team. So having Explosion here with this speed allows me to underspeed every variant of Hooper, barring an Iron Ball variant, which I don't expect him to be, versus this team. And if he's Iron Ball, he's not Life Orb, which just means this Cell Stealer takes hits even easier. I take 2 non-specs T-Bolts with this spread. And obviously I chew Dark Pulses pretty well with this Spidef, so this is nice. I can always blow my way with Explosion as a kind of emergency button if I really need to, versus his Hooper. But yeah, this thing doubles as a really nice check to Beedrill. Obviously he could have Knockoff, which could be kind of annoying for longevity of Selly, but he's probably going to be U-turning on me, and that does nothing in conjunction with the lefty's recovery I'll get. If he has Rocks up, this thing's going to be kind of pressured in that sense, but again, I have ways of preventing Rocks from getting up, as we're going to go into soon. Pretty solid mon here. The Spidef is nice because it does allow me, as I said, to check Nihilego, as well as like a special Zygarde, which sounds weird, but yeah, if he is like a mixed Zygarde or even a special Zygarde, I just shoot anything from that. Like Dragon attacks are doing absolutely nothing. Z Draco, Z Core Enforcer doing 0 to this Zygarde, so quite nice in that regard. Obviously, some more defense investment could be quite nice here, even some more like special attack for Hidden Power Ice versus a fat Spidef Zygarde, but honestly, this Spidef was pretty important for improving my matchup versus a Nihilego. So the next one we have here is Scarf Persian. This is a pretty nice mon in this matchup. It revenges stuff like Mega Beedrill, just OHKOs with Foul Play. Hidden Power Fire sends Katana to another dimension. And Scarfed Parting Shot is solid, just allowing me to outspeed literally everything on his team. I can get momentum with that, reduce the output on his, like the damage output versus my team. Switcheroo is very nice for potential Baton Pass strats. He may try and play versus me if he brings like SD or Iron Defense Pass with his Mega Beedrill. I say Iron Defense, like it sounds like a meme, but it's actually quite solid versus most teams. Birds use that very well. And yeah, having Switcheroo as a safety net, so that is important. If he's like a bulkier Zygarde, I can always Switcheroo his lefties and obtain his lefties in return, tricking him the Choice Scarf, meaning he's just auto-checked by Tang. So that's nice. But yeah, mainly this thing is just here as a really nice emergency check to mons on his team like Hooper, Beedrill, Katana with the Foul Play. Foul Play is doing like almost 50 to Rotom as well, which is really nice, as I can just spank this thing for 2 Akira. I'm quite bulky as well with Fur Coat. My defense is over 300, so that's pretty solid. And the next one we have, I'll just go into Hydreigon next. A very bulky Life Orb set. This basically means I'm not too KO'd by Power Gem. Like I chew Power Gems from Nihi. I'm also pretty solid switching to stuff like Arcanine, unless he's like Life Orb Close Combat, which can take me out if he gets a really high roll. This Hydra is, it may look like kind of weird with like 60 and Life Orb, but this is all I really need to be an offensive threat versus his team. Nothing wants to take a Dark Pulse unless it's Nihilego, unless it's Tapu Bulu. His team really doesn't appreciate Dark Pulses. Empoleon can obviously chew, but if we chip that down with Hydreigon, then it just eases my Diance's job. But like I mentioned, I do expect Empoleon to be out of the picture by the time this fella comes in. Draco Meteor just obliterates Zygarde, even like a really bulky set. It's also nice to have because just having that nuke in the back for Beedrill just blows it away, as well as like offensive Arcanine, it just dies after rocks, which is really nice. Very nice having U-turn here because it allows me to OHKO Hooper, as well as getting momentum on potential switches to the likes of Nihilego and Empoleon on Verd's team. If he does, fear me knocking out one of his mons he wants to go into his like specially defensive check, I can just U-turn on that and go into stuff like my Landorus or my DNC. Roost is here to allow me to scout versus the Nihilego. If he's like choice locked variant, I don't expect him to have Dazzling Gleam at all versus me. I expect him to be like Power Gem, Sludge Wave, maybe T-Bolt, T-Spikes, Stealth Rocks, something like that. Maybe even Hidden Power Ice to hit my Landorus. But I don't really expect the Dazzling Gleam to come here. It just doesn't really... It's a bit of a waste of a slot because Nihi wants to carry lots of moves versus me, and I don't really think he can afford that. So yeah, that's basically the Hydra. Very bulky, as I said. It can act as a very nice switch into Rotom as well, which is a bit of a nuisance to my team. Obviously I'm not chewing anything from Beedrill, but having this bulk really helps me versus the Hooper as well, so very nice mon here. The last one we have, and a set that I'm very proud of, is this Landorus. So bit of a background behind this Lando. FighterMZ you see here with a superpower. This is aimed at capitalizing on what I think is the best Empoleon set Verd can bring to this matchup. I really feel as though Shuka Empo is the best versus me. It allows him to function as an even better check to Diancie. Like, he doesn't have to fear getting like a high roll from like a modest Diancie's Earth Power. He can just literally like switch it in on a Moonblast and then chew an Earth Power the next turn. He can also chew 2 Earth Powers if he's Shuka, because the first one will be significantly weakened, the second one won't be able to take him out barring a crit. And that makes Empo a very nice switch into Diancie. It also makes it a very nice lead if I am going to lead with Landorus, because from his perspective, if he's expecting me to just like stay in an Earthquake, he can just fire off an Ice Beam and just blow away my Landorus, which is amazing versus his team. Well, it's not amazing versus his team, but it's a very important mon on my squad anyway. He may also just click Ice Beam, expecting that it rocks, as I expect him to switch out to something that dodges an EQ or choose an EQ from Landorus aimed at the Empoleon. Not expecting Shuka or something like that, so I do expect him to stay in with his Empoleon versus my Landorus. Z superpower just blows away Empoleon. Like max HP, max defense is blown away. Having U-turn on here is really solid. Allows me to take out the Hooper if he does bring it. Running 260 this week because I always run a very fast Landorus versus Hooper. I always like creep it. Creep it's like max speed, and I've done that in my last game. I did it in my in our meme game that we had, and I did it in my match versus Maddie. So I do expect him to run like a modest or a non-speed boosting nature. So I am actually bringing like enough speed to creep a non-speed boosting Hooper. It also allows me to creep max speed Empoleon, of course. And with this much HP and Spadef, I avoid the Oko from Hidden Power Ice 100% of the time from stuff like Nihilego, stuff like Rotom, of course, and even Hooper can't Oko me with Hidden Power Ice, unless he's the boosting item, which is important. So, and of course I am faster than a modest Hooper, so that's pretty nice. Earthquake is very nice and spammable versus his team. If he brings Bulu, of course, it's going to limit the effectiveness of Earthquake, because obviously that terrain cutting its power in half, but do have U-turn on here to always pivot out on the Bulu into stuff like Celesteela and Tangrowth. So a very, very nice set. I do expect it to put in work, because again, I do expect Verd to bring that kind of set versus me, because it is the best possible Empo set he could bring, in my opinion. And it just gives him an all-around best check to Diancie and potentially Landorus, and it can really pave the way for some of his offensive mons to just threaten my team if either Diancie or Landorus are out of the way. So that's going to be the squad. Very happy with this team. Going to pause it right here and we'll jump into the match and see how it went. Alright guys, so we're here with a match against Verd, and as you can see, he did opt to bring the Empoleon. He's got the Zygarde, which I did expect to come. He's actually brought Grass Offense with Bulu and the Katana, so that's interesting, and it's definitely threatening. Had I not prepped well for it, it could have really, it could really be a threat here, but I feel like we do have ample kind of counters to that in the back, so that should be fine. He's got the Rotom and the Nihilego, so at matchup I view Nihilego as really, really like the biggest kind of threat to my team. T-Spikes are annoying, and that's kind of it. But Empoleon definitely a threat for Diancie. But yeah, Diancie can really go in here. If I can identify Katana as the Scarfer, then I can play around it more easily. And if I can get rocks up at any point, that'll be kind of useful. I mean, he doesn't have any rock weaks really. It'll be just useful for chipping down the Rotom and then Nihilego. But even the Bulu. But yeah, 3 of his mons resist rocks, so they aren't like critical here. But we're gonna lead off with Lando, jump into the match. As we mentioned earlier, that is our lead of choice. Now he does lead with the Empoleon here, and we both thought about this turn for a while. Ultimately, I'm going to click Z-Fight here because I do expect him, the fact that he led Empo, like, really, like, I typically have led with my Rockers throughout the season, so had I led with, like, Rocks Diancie, Shuka Empo was just, like, a fine counter lead to that, and same goes for Lando, and I do expect this thing to be Rocks. Him getting Rocks up really, like, pressures my Celly a lot, and I do expect him to stay in here and go for rocks here, or even just attack my Landorus, expecting my Earthquake not to be able to kill him due to his Shuka. And I'm just going to fire with the Z fighting, and that's a massive turn 1, just blowing this Empoleon away. So very, very proud of this set. I'm very happy that it came through the way it did. It's always a nice feeling when your prep pays off like that. So he's going to go into his Rotom here. I'm just going to go Hideout into my Hydro, not wanting to risk getting burnt there, or even just him clicking HP Ice. HP Ice would have done a clean like 30 to 40 to my Hydro because I am so fat. Could have just roosted it off. I don't even know if it would have done 40 to be honest, but it might have. Rotom's pretty weak though, so Hydra's really bulky, and going into Hydro here was my play because now I can just really just fire off a Dark Pulse and just see what his switch into that is. If he's a Solfest Bulu, then I will be able to gauge damage, determine his set. If he wants to go into Nihilego, then he risks potentially taking an EQ from Hydra. And if I'm like Specs, then going to Nihilego is kind of risky because it gets really worn down and put into range of a lot from the rest of my team. So he's actually going to fire off the Toxic here as we go hard into Hydra there, and this turn I'm just going to fire off a Dark Pulse here as he does go out into his Tapu Bulu here. So he doesn't take much. He takes 22 from a Life Orb Dark Pulse. So this reveals that he's a really bulky Bulu. I think he's like max HP with some Spit F, like a little bit of Spit F. Could be wrong. Don't know Verd's sets yet. We'll have to definitely wait for his side of the match to confirm that, but he's definitely not like a purely offensive Tapu. He took Bulu. He took a little bit less than he should have if he was like just like fast offensive. So that's important to keep in mind. I'm gonna U-turn here. He does actually reveal to be a Leftovers variant this turn, so that's good to know. He's not like Life Orb or like Banned or anything like that, or even Assault Vest because he didn't take enough to be Assault Vest, and he reveals Lefty, so that's confirmed. Going for U-turn here allows me to switch out pretty cleanly into my Selly or my Tang, and if he does make the switch out into his either his Zygarde or his Nihilego, scouting for the Fire Blast here, I will be able to gain momentum and go out into an appropriate check to that. So he is actually going to make the play of switching out into his Nihilego here, just wanting to scout. I can totally understand that. I'd revealed Life Orb in this Hydra, so scouting for a Fire Blast was definitely a fine play there, but I'm going to get a nice chip off on this Nihilego, which puts it into guaranteed range of Earth Power from my DNC. The min roll on like offensive Nihilego was 99.1%, so that's pretty nice anyway, but having this thing chipped down guarantees that it's now in range, unless it is a Shuka variant of Nihilego. But the fact that he was Shuka Empo makes me think he's probably not double Shuka. This is probably like Scarfed or E-Belt versus me, so I don't expect him to be HP Steel here, and realizing how important this Nihilego is for him, especially if it is a like an E-Belt sweeping set, he's going to want to preserve this and keep it around. And my obvious play here would be clicking like Earth Power or Psyshock if I have it, so I'm going to sub this turn expecting him to make the switch out into either his Rotom or his Tapu Bulu here, as that is what he decides to do. He decides to go hard out into his Tapu Bulu, so I'm going to get a sub up here, get some nice grassy terrain back. Shoutouts to the grassy terrain, like the mechanics of this thing are confusing as fuck. You'd think the mon who received grassy terrain was actually faster, but I've known for a while now that's not how it works with grassy terrain. Doesn't work the same as lefties depending on like the faster mon, so that's important for all you guys watching. Don't be confused by that. It doesn't necessarily mean the mon who receives it first is the faster of the two. So as you see there, Bulu does get it first, but my DNC is faster, and if he's just max HP with like very minimal Spit F, this is like almost like a 50-50 roll for it to take him out with Hidden Power Poison. But if he was like a really Spit F variant, he had a pretty good chance of living this anyway, so like a much higher chance of living this. So I'm gonna go for Hidden Power Poison here. Either way, it's gonna be a 2-hit KO, as we do get 98%, so we get a pretty high roll. If he was like, again, like it was like a 50-50 chance to knock him out if he was just max HP, but again, I'm not sure about that set. Had we knocked him out, we would have kept a sub up, which would have been pretty nice, but we will be able to force him out here the following turn with the Moonblast. And the nice thing about this situation is that I'm getting back grassy terrain, which is nice. It's just putting me at a higher range of health, meaning that I can take a hit from Nihilego if need be. I can take hits from the Rotom as well if I need to switch in on it for some reason. So he's just going to switch out this turn, go into his Nihilego here as I go for Moonblast. So Moonblast, like anything, put this, like this Nihilego was already in range of an Earth Power, but any attack there, like nullified the grassy terrain recovery. He'd receive that turn anyway, so I get the special attack drop, but it's inconsequential, as this turn I will just go for the Earth Power and knock out Nihilego. So that is one of the biggest offensive threats to my team down. Looking at his team left now, this is probably a Scarfed Katana, especially because of the way he brought it in. It's either a really nice bluff on Verd's part, or it's a Scarfed Katana. Either way, I'm not going to stay in here. Earth Power has a chance to KO offensive Katana, but given Verd's affinity for really Spidef and bulky Katanas, I'm not about to risk it here, because this Diancie just really puts in work. Can potentially Oko Rotom if he's not a bulky variant, can just blow away Zygarde with Moonblast and revenges Bulu from the range of health it's at. So not going to risk Diancie here on him potentially being like a bulkier Katana. So I'm just going to switch out here, going into my Lando here, as with the Intimidate drop, given the fact that I do expect him to be Scarfed, a Smart Strike is going to do around 30% to my Lando. So I will be able to get up rocks after taking the Smart Strike and forcing him out. I have shown to have fighting coverage, so he's more than likely going to go hard out into his Rotom, which probably checks my Lando, and if it's a Colberberry variant, it can definitely check anything my Lando wants to throw at it. So I'm going to go into my Lando here. I'm in a pretty nice spot, even after taking the Smart Strike. I will be definitely at a range of health where I force this Katana out. But unfortunately, he's going to crit me, and it does 68%, so that's really unfortunate. I'm now at a range of health where like a literal max roll from Smart Strike will take out my Landorus. Although this next turn I'm going to bank on him expecting, or not wanting to risk the roll, or just not knowing my spread and not thinking that another Smart Strike can take me out based on how much that Smart Strike did it as a crit. Very unfortunate, as Landorus would have been at a higher amount of health to check stuff like the Zygarde and get rocks up more reliably, as well as switching into this Katana one more time. But that's alright, it's out of our control completely. So he's going to go for the Smart Strike here. I'm going to now go for U-turn, expecting him to go out into his Rotom, which will grant me a switch into my Hydreigon, as that is what he decides to do. U-turn there also allowed me to remove a potential focus sash from Katana if he was sash. It also allowed me to put him in guaranteed range of Earth Power, even if he was a Spidef variant, so, or like a bulkier variant of Katana after the U-turn damage from Lando from my Diancie. So that was pretty important, as this damage on the Rotom reveals that he's a bulkier set, like maybe he's got some Fizz Def or just like max HP. Quite a bulky Rotom there, as U-turn does 14.4. So now I'm going to bring in Hydra and just fire off a Dark Pulse. He's probably Colbur, as he does reveal to be, but it still does a lot, and it puts him in Rock's range. It also puts him in range of anything from my Celesteela. So this no longer is like switch into Celesteela. Celesteela's looking pretty threatening versus the rest of his team, considering I do have the Hidden Power Ice for the Zygarde. So this turn he's just going to go for the Volt Switch here, as it does only 12% to my Hydra, as he can now bring in his Zygarde. So this turn I expect him to go hard out into his Bulu. Bulu, what it does is it sets up the grassy terrain once again for Katana. It also scouts for dragon coverage, and if I take I'm going to die from Toxic on the next turn, basically, from this Hydra. So if I stay in and go for Dragon, like Draco Meteor, I knock out his Zygarde if he chooses to stay in, and my Hydreigon drops to a combination of Life Orb and Toxic. If he goes hard out into Tapu Bulu and I go for Draco, I don't get any damage off on the Bulu, and I drop to Poison because I will stay in that turn as a result. If I go for U-turn here, U-turn covers him going into Bulu, as I get momentum out into anything on my team, as I can just go into Diancie and click Moonblast. It also gives me information on his Zygarde set. If he stays in and goes for E-Speed and knocks out my Hydra, that's a critical information on his set. If he goes for like a setup move, if he's like Kaban or something, or he expects me to overpredict and just go for like the Fire Blast or something, I haven't revealed Roost at this stage, then he can potentially get a DD up. Either way, going for U-turn is my best play here, as he's going to make the switch out to Bulu, scouting or just expecting me to click the Dragon move there, as I will be able to preserve my Hydra to either sack late game to the Rotom, or even heal up on something versus this team as I do have Roost. Now I'm just going to go into my Diancie here, and I could just click Moonblast. I could just click Sub here, expecting him to make the Rotom sack, but there's no real need. I'm just going to click Moonblast here, as that does like if he chooses to stay in with his Bulu and just click Horn Leech, he's going to get some recovery back from the lefties, the grassy terrain, and the Horn Leech recovery from breaking my sub, and I'd rather keep this thing as low as possible if I can. So I'm just going to go for the Moonblast there. No real reason to like predict him to preserve his Bulu there, as Moonblast was just so free there, as my dance is now back to full. Had I subbed there, yes, I could have like remained behind a sub after taking out the Rotom, but it's not going to make a really big difference at this point. So he's going to go into his Katana, as I am just going to switch out into my Tangrowth, as he does go for the Smart Strike. Even if he'd gone for the X Scissor there, it didn't even do half to this Tangrowth. I got recovery from grassy terrain, and I could then switch accordingly based on what he locked himself into. So obviously getting my regen back with Regenerator. So he's going to go for Smart Strike. I'm just going to go for the Hidden Power. I think I go for the knockoff this turn, actually, wanting to remove his Scarf so my Diancie can just win. But he's going to go into his Zygarde here, and knockoff was a fine play there, as it prevented Bulu from getting more residual recovery with lefties, and I could just knock it out the next turn with Sludge Bomb. It covered him going to Zygarde. It gave me information on his set. If I didn't knock off an item, he was obviously Z-move, which is important, revealing that he's more than likely not more offensive Zygarde. But the fact that I knocked off his lefties means that he's more than likely a bulkier setup set with some kind of tech for the Tangrowth. So it's quite late here. I'm recording this pretty late. So yeah, I'm gonna go out into my Celesteela here, expecting him to have some kind of like Toxic or 1000 Waves here to trap in my Tangrowth. I don't go out to Cellular, to Persian. I think I went Persian because if he is a like DD variant, I can just trick it. If he wants to go for sub, I can Parting Shot into Selly. But he actually goes for 1000 Waves here, and he crits me, unfortunately. Doesn't really matter though, as this turn I can just trick. Trick is no drawback here. Trick, if he stays in, I swap in my Scarf for his lefties, which just helps my Persian's longevity versus his team. If he decides to switch out to Katana, we just trade Scarves and I'm still faster, and I can just fire like a Hidden Power Fire or just a Foul Play. If he goes out into Bulu, I give him a Scarf, meaning that he's like really gimped versus my team, and I get his lefties, so I gain longevity versus the team. So it's not really a drawback at all to just click Switcheroo here, as Bulu is going to come in here and I am going to get the lefties. We're going to get that nice lefties plus grassy terrain. So Bulu is at 25 and he's now locked into a Scarf. He's now locked into Scarf, so if whatever move he clicks, he can't switch up the moves. I think at this turn I'm going to go into my Selly here, expecting him to Toxic, as I go into Hydro, which does cover the Toxic play, as well as it's a worthy sack if he did decide to go for Nature's Madness, which would give me important information. Hydra also covered him going into this Zygarde on my Selly, if he's like a 1000 Arrows variant, as Hydreigon threatened Zygarde with a Draco, but he's going to go for Toxic here, so that's nice. Had I gone into Tang, I would have got Toxic, so Selly or Hydra were my play of choice there, as now I can just roost up this turn, as if he wants to stay in, I will get at a very nice amount of health. And if he does choose to switch out into Katana, which was a pretty risky play because I could have just gone for Dark Pulse there, expecting him to make the switch, but I can definitely understand why he made the Katana switch there. He could have probably lived a Dark Pulse if he gets like one of the nice bulky Spit Out Verd sets. So I'm just going to go for the Roost there, which means that my Hydra can now switch in more easily on any variant of the Bulu, any move it wants to lock itself into, barring a Mega Horn or a Superpower. I can also easily switch in on the Zygarde, or just have this at a higher amount of health where it's now out of range for an E-Speed from the Zygarde. So I'm going to go into my Celesteela here, expecting him to have some sort of like Toxic or even X-Scissor to hit the Tangrowth, as he does actually reveal Toxic. So this is really nice. Like Scarfed card can't really do much to this Selly, even though I am Spit Up, I'm still chewing physical hits, as I'll now be able to just click Hidden Power Ice versus his team, as he does bring in the Zygarde here. Now we're going to get a revenge crit for the couple of crits we've already got this match, but against us. But as you can see, it's not really going to matter because Verd does have rest on this Zygarde, so he will be able to recover up that damage in the next couple of turns. So I'm just going to go for another Hidden Power Ice here. He'd revealed to have 1000 Waves. He more than likely has 1000 Arrows, as that's his best means of hitting Celesteela. The fact that he was lefties means that he's potentially like Dragon Dance or Coil, and then he had a last move which could be Rest, and if he was Rest, that meant that he wasn't Sleep Talk, and if he was like Rest plus Dragon Dance, that meant that like my team can just beat it easily. He actually reveals to be Camouflage. So in this situation, like had he not been Camouflage, Hidden Power Ice just took him out the next turn. If he'd rested, it just like 3 KO'd him. If he was like a really bulky set. But the fact that he has Camouflage means that he's Camouflage plus arrows plus waves. I haven't been shown arrows at this point, but I can surmise from his set and just from my team that he probably needs it. Otherwise, he's walled by Landorus and Celesteela, and yeah, even my Hydreigon. So he's going to reveal Camouflage. As this turn, I am just going to click Hidden Power Ice. I think I click Heavy Slam this turn actually, as I just want to get guaranteed damage on his Zygarde. If he had just decided to go for staying there and attack me with 1,000 arrows, Heavy Slam would have done more than Hidden Power Ice, but he's actually just going to rest up this turn. So this is interesting. His rest, his lefties are now gone. His rest Camouflage, 1,000 waves. So his last move, it could be a boosting move, it could be Coil, it could be Dragon Dance, but that means he's just walled by Tangrowth. It means he's walled by Celesteela, Lando, and my Hydreigon, because his 1,000 waves does not hit my flying types like arrows does. So he's more than likely non-Sleep Talk with 1,000 waves and 1,000 arrows. So pretty interesting set versus my team, but it does PP stall the Tangrowth, so I can definitely respect that. He can like kind of PP stall me out with the normal typing. Like nothing I have can really affect him, and he can just proceed to rest up, which is a pretty cool set versus my team. Also pretty nice for stuff like the Diancie, if he's like really bulky, although I think Diancie's Moonblast would actually 2 KO, or like at least 3 KO him, so not sure about that, but it's Verd, so he obviously had a plan for this Zygarde, and I'm really curious to hear his thought process behind it. So he's just going to go for Rest here, as I do go for Heavy Slam once more, just scouting to see if he did have, if he had Rest Talk, and if he wanted to go into Bulu there, I got damage off with the Heavy Slam, I knocked him out. If he went Katana, I got nice damage with the Heavy Slam. I got like 15-20% off there with a Heavy Slam, but he's just going to proceed to rest and try and wake up here. So this turn I do go for the Leech. I Leech up, and this turn I'm going to Heavy Slam once more. If I can get my my Diancie in on a turn he has to rest, I can get a sub up and get Leech health back and start firing off Moonblasters versus my team. The fact that he's non-Sleep Talk means that he can't even like attack me whilst he's asleep, so Diancie basically gets a kill in that sense. It's looking kind of bleak at this point for Verd, because nothing he has can really break Celesteela at this point, as I am just going to make the switch out here into my Persian, as he does make the switch out into his Tapu Bulu, as now I am just going to go hard out into my Selly, as he gets me here with the Nature's Madness, but that's fine though. I can just switch out if I'm fearing him like staying in and spamming Nature's Madness. I do go for Heavy Slam here though, because if I did take out the Bulu, I could just Leech Seed up every day on the Zygarde and recover up, and my Persian kind of wins at this point anyway, as well as like Diancie after I've taken out the Scarf Katana. So he's going to go into his Katana on the Heavy Slam, and we get a nice 21% off with that Heavy Slam, but his Katana is obviously a pretty big threat to my Selly, because it can, depending on like rolls, you can 2 KO me from there with Sacred Sword, and I didn't want to risk him critting me when Selly is such a fantastic check to both Zygarde and this Bulu. I had no reason not to switch out to my Tangrowth there, just to scout what he wanted to lock himself into, and me clicking Hidden Power Ice here is pretty free at this point. So he's going to go into his Bulu here. It takes 30% from the Hidden Power Ice, and not wanting to get Toxic here, I am going to switch out into my Landorus. Don't want my Bulu to get Toxic, and if he does click Toxic, I get free rocks here, which puts his Bulu after switching in on rocks in range of anything on my team. So he's going to go for the Toxic here, which is pretty nice, as now I can just get up my rocks here, as he's going to go into his Katana, and now everything's going to be getting chipped down. Granted, Katana and so I got only take like 6% from rocks. It's all going to add up in the long run if this does play out. He's going to go for the Smart Strike there. It doesn't do much, as my Tangrowth can come in and just click Hidden Power Ice as he sacks off his Bulu. So he gets up the grassy terrain. Tang's at a very healthy amount of HP now, and at this point Bird's just going to forfeit, because Tangrowth beats like his last 2 mons. Everything, like Diancie beats his last 2 mons if I knock off the Scarf, and yeah, that's going to be the game. So definitely I I enjoyed this game, obviously, because my team worked out. I know Verd wasn't too happy with the way he played, but I think that came down a lot to not expecting my lander set, and I totally get it. Like, no one I mocked with expected that lander set, and it was very effective in every game I played. So I don't think that reflects badly on Verd at all. I think that's just a reflection of the effort I put into prepping for this game. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with the way I prepped. But all hats off to Verd for an amazing season. One bad game like this doesn't reflect on a player. Like I've always said, it's consistency that makes a player. And Verd was definitely consistent this season. It was his first season in the NPL majors, and he made it to semi-finals. And the only reason he lost to the two-time champion of the NPL. So like, it's definitely not not a bad run in my opinion at all. And he's definitely made a name for himself as one of the big names in the majors. So shout outs to him for that. Definitely looking forward to the next time we get to play. I think it will be very fun to play next season if we're still in the NPL, and if we do get matched up, that would be definitely awesome. Definitely go and check out Verd's side of the match. I look forward to hearing his thought process, and I recommend you guys go and check it out as well. And if you guys aren't already subbed to Verd, make sure you go and check him out, because he's another Aussie, as I mentioned. He's a fellow Aussie, and if you guys like my voice, chances are you're gonna love Verd's. He's a hilarious guy as well. He uploads like vlogs and stuff like that, so I definitely recommend you go and check him out. He's in multiple leagues, doing it big, and you won't regret it. So that's going to be my semis match against Verd. This means we're obviously onto the finals, and if you guys don't want to be spoiled about who made finals, then I recommend you guys just close out on my video now and catch me in my next upload, because I'm just gonna say who made finals now. So yeah, spoilers. But yeah, in finals we will be facing off against Rizzy Power, the one and only Rizzy Power. He's had a really solid season and really silenced all the doubters, so that'll be fun to face Riz in the finals. He has an obnoxious team, very, very threatening, and don't really like my matchup all that much, but it will be a fun game nonetheless. Hope you guys are pumped for that. Definitely go and check out everyone's semis match, Riz and Moxie Infernapes. Obviously, if you guys are listening to this, you've probably already watched it because of the spoiler, but hope you guys did enjoy everyone's content. And yeah, that's going to be it for me tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like if you did, and I'll catch you guys in finals.